And if you're tuned into Astro Super Sports, which you are, then you will see that you have come straight into the heart of the Kopiko Purple League. This is the official tournament arena, the sports arena Sentosa. My name is Jeevan Sovanathan, and I'm going to be your commentator for the second day of match day 8 of the 11 match days that make up the Kopiko Purple League. These are the table standings as it stands right now. As you can see, 4 clubs have already played their 8th match. Kapong, Petaling, Nusa Jaya and Kajang, they were in action yesterday, but today, what a day of badminton we have in store for you. I'll be joined in the commentary box a little bit later on, but I can tell you now that Petaling Jaya and Muar City, 2 in the top 3 of the league, will be battling it out later on. That's at 7 p.m. Right now, coming up on your screens, Klang United versus Bangsar Hawks. It's 8th place Klang versus 12th place Bangsar Hawks, but in essence, where you are in the table doesn't really make a difference at this point in time. This is the order of play. As you can see, big names as always, as you do expect from the Kopiko Purple League. Simon Santoso, former world number 3, he's going to be kicking it off. Yap Rui Chen has had a great run. And in addition to that, we have the 6 matches that make up the tie, of course, with the 2 men's doubles, the mixed doubles, and the women's singles as well. And I'm just going to hand you over to our on-court MC, JD, who is introducing our teams for our first time. Yap Kim Hok, the legend. And that is Klang United Badminton Club. Our 2 teams that will be competing the first tie on the second day of match day 8 for the Kopiko Purple League. And before we get to the action, a quick word from the managers. We'll be speaking to JD on court.
All right, down here with the managers once again before the start of this tie. Remember, all teams vying for the top 8 spot for the Resorts World Genting Champions Challenge. Get the tickets at ibookcourt.com. First, let's chat with Bangsar Hawks BC team manager Ismail Saman. Mathematically, mathematically, your team can still make the top 8. That win over Cheras the other day, did it give your team confidence to maybe do something today, maybe win it?
Of course, we already win the Cheras BC. Then today, opportunity we have something to win for the Klang. But I also cannot be underestimate for the Klang. But we have to try my own best because we still have chance to be top 8 in the club.
So, may the best team win, I guess. All right, so confidence plays a big part for Bangsar House BC right now with that win. What about Klang United BC boss Yap Kim Hok? You are right at the edge, at number 8 right now. Serdang BC can smell you, all right? With your squad that you have today, can they go all the way to the end and maintain that spot and maybe go up?
Yeah, I believe we can. Yeah, we can. So we are until now is the number 8 spot and last 4 match for the Klang United, and we go all out until 1st of February and qualified for the Challenge Cup in the Genting.
Yeah. So all to play for. Before we start, let's have a handshake and let's transfer the pennant. Okay, and may the best team win. Thank you, managers. Let's get this match going. All right, let's go back to you in the commentary box.
Thanks for that, JD. Now, as you see the two teams ready for action again, they're all attuned and acclimatized to what the Kopiko Purple League is all about now. If you're not, then, well, it is a brand new system. All the details can be found on www.purpleleague.com. But as I said, there's in every one of these match days, each of these teams play each other. And in the 6 matches, we start with the men's singles, and that's the men's singles we're going to start with today. Yong Zhao, Ashton Chen against Simon Santoso. Both of them brought in as imports, of course. Ashton from Singapore and Simon Santoso, the Indonesian legend, who is a highest ranked world number 3 at one point. He's now 20th in the world. After this, women's singles, men's doubles, mixed doubles, another men's singles and a mixed doubles await us. And here is Simon Santoso. So, as we get to the action, we have the, I suppose you could say legend. He's not that old. He's only 29 years old, Simon Santoso, but he's already done so much in his career that you could consider him as being one of the best. And let's not forget, in 2014, one of the very few people that actually beat Dato Lee Chong Wei as well. That was in the Singapore Open Super Series, 21-15, 21-10. I don't really need to have, I shouldn't really have to go any further than that. Any player that can take Dato Lee Chong Wei 21-15, 21-10 as the winner, that was in the final as well, has everything he needs to teach a lesson or two to some of these younger players. As you can see, currently ranked 9th in the world, just 29 years old, but a really solid game from Simon Santoso every time that he plays. But he also has that ability to just change up the game and win it if he needs to. His opponent today, well, lesser ranked, but no stranger to some of the bigger tournaments. Some of the other tournaments that I've commentated on before, he has made an impression, usually up to about quarterfinals, ranked 119th in the world. And really, as I said, he's done his best in terms of developing his game, but possibly the Kopiko Purple League is going to be the stage where he will actually really develop his game by playing week in, week out against some of the biggest players around. Tong Yu Ching is our umpire. And our service judge is Lim Su Ching. And we'll just get underway in just a moment. So we're underway. The formalities all out of the way. And not surprisingly, Simon Santoso with the first point. Good return there, though. That's going to give Ashton Chen a little bit of confidence. Nicely returned. Well, it might just be unforced errors in the end that decides this match. As I said, Ashton has been around the scene long enough. Two all, and he knows the opponent he's up against taking a high line mid-court, defending from there. And that is a classic example of what Simon Santoso can do. Great movement all around. And look at the technique on that. Picks his spot, and it's just out of arm's reach. The top game in the top 10 players of the world, as we saw with Janne Jorgens, who made a scintillating debut yesterday in the Kopiko Purple League. It's all about feet, centimeters, various points around the court. 3-2. Slowly but surely, the points start falling the way of Simon Santoso. The unforced errors, as expected, creeping up, but nothing specific or significant yet. Well, it's a great idea from Ashton to go for the round the head. The angle was just a little bit too much for him. Very close to the shoulder as well. It's almost like a car blind spot, just a one place you can't hit. Again, a great rally, has to be said. Possibly Ashton could think that the scoreline isn't quite reflective for the game that he's playing, and I'd agree with him in that case. He's setting himself up nicely. It's just a final stroke. That last error has led to a 4-point lead. That's now a 5-point lead. That was more of a pressured point. The angle coming in so steep. It's very difficult to return. Of course, in the 11-point system in each of these best-of-5 matches, 6 of which make up the tie, 11-point games. 5-point gap like this might be too much. And that is probably just reward for the kind of work that Ashton Chen's been putting in. On a different level, his highest ever ranking was 50. That was a couple of years back. He's currently ranked 119th. And that is 110 places below his opponent. Beautiful drop there. Oh, that's a great, great point for Ashton Chen, and he deserves to pump his fist in victory. He took control of it with that drop. Technically great smash, but moving forward and killing it. And even the best of them needs at least some time to respond, and there was no time given there. So he might have an unforced error count that's climbing, but he's definitely leading on clear winners at the moment. And he'll be upset with himself for that. Switching our focus to the other side of the court, while Simon Santoso, so far, he's been solid in the Kopiko Purple League. In the times that I've met him, very quiet individual. Not really outspoken about things, just gets on with his game. And what a game it is. Again, Ashton going for that drop. And I have to say, from the times I've seen Ashton Chen before, this is a very, very solid performance from him so far. He's been trying the different points of the court, moving it up from rear court, mid court, and forecourt. But when you can unleash power and accuracy like that, and that was still, I'd say, a level 1 Simon Santoso smash. That's probably not his top gear, but look at the accuracy of it, straight to the body. So, game point after just 7 minutes. I'll try to be a little bit too spectacular, shall we say. That was a very difficult drop from that angle. He only had about a foot to work with. Ended up he needed, by the looks of it, about 2. So a chance here if Ashton get back. Well, it's a tough ask when Simon Santoso is standing so close to the net. Great reflexes from him. Ashton was caught out there, but suddenly found some great defense. All 3 of those shots straight to the body. And it was, in the end, I think the appreciation, he did hit him, but Simon Santoso may apologize for the final shot hitting his opponent, but the previous 3 were aimed directly at the same spot, so he should really probably apologize for the other 4. 11-5, the first game falls. Bangsar take a lead. It's early on to say that with 6 matches in each tie. But Simon Santoso would be looked at here by his managers. We've seen there to be delivering 3 points, and if he keeps hitting points like this, that's exactly where he will go. Look at that, absolutely perfect. At the net, just the right spacing. At the back, mid-court, he's pretty much been winning all his points mid-court. Mid-court on a badminton court is extremely difficult and significant. One, because if you do aim your shots there, it's very difficult for your opponent to get any kind of power smash or drive coming, especially if it's at their feet. It usually forces your opponent into a lift clear, which can then lead to your kill. So he's almost been insulating the points he's been winning by aiming them at that mid-court area. That's what you expect from a top 10 player. So far, absolute job done by Simon Santoso. But credit to Ashton Chen for the fire. Let's see if he can pull in his unforced error count. It's bound to start rising. That's in. It's actually, believe it or not, currently tied. They're actually playing, in terms of a leaky game, which is how I like to describe unforced errors, 3-all. But you'd be expecting that Simon Santoso will keep it sub 10. Best we've seen, of course, is 6 for a 3-game match. That was from Lim Yin Fan. One of those strange little interactions and exchanges at the net. Oh, well, it was actually Ashton that got the tumble. Now, again, that was some great movement from Simon Santoso. You saw him take position at the net. He was almost caught out there, but he settles himself nicely. Such a great action on that smash. Look at that. Good to see some fans here for this early tie, second day of match day 8. It's been a constant following here at the Sports Arena Sentosa. Good to see. Well, that's a fantastic return. And as I have been saying, he doesn't look phased at the moment. He's facing a very solid opponent. And that's the kind of 1 foot, really, maximum 12 centimeters that you have to play with if you're going to score points against the top players. Ai Wei-Jian yesterday found that sacred space, you could say, against Janne Jorgensen for a great point. And in the end, of course, Jorgensen came through comfortably 3-love. Good kill there from Simon. Brilliant. He seems to have this ability to bounce back and forth between mid-court and rear court. Just know his range, just exactly how he has to move. There are positional players. Lee Hyun-il, of course, recent winner just on Sunday. One of the conflicting tournaments, hasn't been here, but he's another great positional player. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Any other player, perhaps a shot like that would have caught them off guard, but he's got this ability here. Slips, still manages to pull himself back and get a return off that is not just good, but a slight hobble there. Oh, yep, definitely slight hobble. He looks like he's walked it off. Now, that's one of the significant points about having a league system is star players within the league. You have to keep them fit and injury-free. There's a lot of badminton they play. Let's see if that knock has affected him. 4-2. You can't really tell with Simon because, well, he's not one of those players that smiles during his game. He obviously enjoys his badminton, but very serious-minded fellow. Again, great move from Ashton. He was really being pushed around those first 3 shots. He came back with a power drive from mid-court. And that forced Simon into a very difficult drop that, well, to be honest with you, he completely fluffed. So 4-all, as you see, in terms of the leaky game, the unforced error game. It is literally just a question of when those unforced errors have happened that led to Simon having that lead. I did say we're expecting that, based on the rankings, that statistic to rise. It just has. But that's how these top players manage to grind out victories. That's how they manage to keep winning and earn that ranking. The world number 9. Well, that's a beautiful piece of defense from Ashton Chen. He's still in this point. Oh. And that is another brilliant example of how he has battled away with some really impressive shots. Look at the recovery here. And then it's just the simple backhand flick in the end that defeats him. Even he wasn't expecting that. But in the middle of that, what a recovery from the baseline. As I said earlier, he has been around the game enough that he won't be faced by bigger players, but he's usually only around till about quarterfinal stage. The Thursday, he made it to Thursday at the Singapore International Series last year. Wednesday and Thursday at the Sunrise Malaysia Grand Prix Gold last year. perhaps that game. Usually these top players, when they get to about 7, 8, and 9, or in this case, of course, in a 21, the usual original badminton format, it would be 16, 17, 18, and 19. Once they get to those points, they just lock up their games, make sure of the game win. And that also is a fault for Ashton, so 9-3. Never seem to overstretch themselves. Well, again, if you're going to take any badminton shot, offensive or defensive, you're going to need time to do it. And if somebody's doing this to you, then that's not going to happen. Moves forward so well. As I was talking to Sharon Wee last night, for the evening tie, just actually pulling off those shots is extremely difficult, because as you move forward, you have to judge exactly where the trajectory of the shuttle coming back to you is, if you're going to kill it without netting it. But what a return. Possibly this game is too far away from him at game point, but he's definitely not going out without a fight. 4-10. And if he can just start using the serve to its maximum. Serve gives you, of course, the option of the third shot, which can control the point. That's what he's doing so far. But now, in the end, it was Simon who managed to wrest control back of that point. At this area here, it was actually that beautiful mid-court, cross-court drive that Ashton couldn't recover from in time. By the time he was up, he was definitely not going to move to the area that Simon was going to kill that shuttle in, and that's exactly what he did. So, solid play from the Indonesian star of Bangsar, and he's given them a 2-game lead. Don't forget, Bangsar Hawks, they are rooted at the bottom of the table in 12th. It hasn't been the easiest of rides for them at all. With 44 games won, 109 lost. That's a minus 65 games difference, which, to be honest, puts them about 80-odd games off qualifying for the Champions Challenge, which is the top 8 of the 12. That might be just about set in stone for this season, but of course this season is the inaugural Kopiko Purple League season, and the easiest way to define that is we have no defending champion. All leagues need a defending champion, a target for the other teams to hit, and this year really has been about these 12 clubs, these districts from KL that are supported, as you can see, live here at the Sports Arena Sentosa. It's about them finding out where they are in terms of the other badminton clubs, and next season we're definitely going to have a defending champion, which everyone's going to aim at. By the way, that might be Moa City, who are in action later on this evening, so make sure that Astro Supersport is locked on all day and all night. I'd be very surprised if Simon Sentosa, with the focus that he's showing, would drop any games from this point on. But it is 11 points. Well read by Ashton Chen, well read. As my fellow commentators, Des Corkill is famous for saying it is a marathon, but it is based on little sprints, and those little sprints are the 11 points. So really it does rebalance world rankings and give a lot of opportunities for some younger players to start shining. If you can just make a run and keep focused. I think the body language there from Ashton Chen just showed you exactly what I meant about focus. You look at the two players, Simon Santoso, stone cold. Ashton showing a lot of emotion, but he is, of course, 2 games down and 2-1 down in this third. Perhaps he thought he could spring an upset. Statistics, of course, would possibly point otherwise. If you are going to stage an upset, it will be here at the Kopiko Purple League. I was always a bit concerned when that lift almost hit the roof. High lift clears. He didn't really have much of an option from that position. And I told you, with this mechanical jump smash action that Simon Santoso has, he can pick pretty much any spot that he wants. In that case, it was the exact 3 or 4 inches was out of reach. And at such a speed, irretrievable. 3-1, looking good for a 3-0 start for Bangsar. That's called in. I was just saying about how he could pick his spot. That was an even narrower area to be aiming for, especially from where he was. I think he knew. Look at that, bang on the line. 4-1. Possibly, I'd say, not reflective of the amount of effort that Ashton Chen has put in, but what are you going to do against top players? Well, what a fantastic drop that was. I do wish either Donald Spears or Sharon Wee, they'll both be joining me later on, I can tell you now, were next to me, because they would be swooning at a drop like that. From rear to mid. Wow. Well, he gave it a go. As a commentator, you're supposed to stay neutral, and unfortunately, I don't do that very well. My heart does go out to Ashton Chen. And really bringing the best of his game, but there's a long way to go. But this is what it's all about. It's about playing the big names, learning from them. And that will give him a great deal of confidence. A stinging return. Too fast to be picked up. Now, as I said, the service so important in singles and doubles, of course, but because it does, we had the former national doubles player, Hui Ling. She was up here, one of the great guests I have up in the commentary box, and she was telling us about how it's that third shot off the service, off the return off your service, that can command and control points. And that was a good enough service right there to force an error from Simon. He's still at 6 unforced errors. Ashton at 12 now. I did say that was going to climb. 6 is the best we've seen from Lim Yin Fan for Vitali, off 48 points. Another smash goes wide. I wonder if Simon Santoso has perhaps been a little ruffled. Lots more fist pumping from Ashton Chen. The first match, so important, of course, to set the tone of the tie. Great drop shot from Santoso. Look at that. That was fully controlled by Simon, and he knows it. Hats off to Ashton, because he was just kept on the baseline there by a series of baseline shots and beautiful drops. To his credit, good defense. But there was a lot of pressure coming in there for him. 7-4, 4 points away from a great start for Bangsar Hawks. Well, that was just called out. That would have been one for the highlight reel if it had got back. Let's have a look at that again. It's another incredible clear if you think about it, but it's just wide. So difficult to pick those up. Perfectly controlled. So focused. 9-4, 2 points away now. Very, very solid performance. Bangsar Hawks will be happy to have Simon Santoso in there. As you can hear, the Bangsar fans screaming away in the afternoon. Beautiful drop shot again. And these, that grey area between unforced errors and forced errors just shown again, because that was a forced error. Simon Santoso making his opponent play the most difficult shots just as returns. So he's got match point, 5 of them here. Oh, I don't think that was very fair. There was a fan that tried to put him off. Look at that. Brilliant performance from Simon Santoso. It only took him 26 minutes. Extremely well done. 11-5, 11-4, 11-5, and this was basically textbook badminton all the way, right down to the last point. There are certain things you cannot do, and Simon Santoso put you in the position where you were forced to do them. Another move ahead kill. Really good, solid performance. He's on court now. Just gave a quick fist bump. Good to see with JD, who he's going to be speaking to as we get confirmation of that.
All right, down here with the winner of the men's singles match, Simon. Bagaimana perasaan Simon with your performance today? Because I know there's a lot of pressure from your manager because you want to maintain the spot in the standings. Was there a lot of pressure? How do you feel about your performance?
Ya, emang dari pertama saya memang tampil untuk enjoy dan konsentrasi. Dari pertama bagaimana saya menerapkan strategi permainan saya, mungkin untuk memikirkan umpama coach memberikan saya pressure, saya coba untuk menghilangkan itu. Dan bagaimana saya bisa mengeluarkan kemampuan saya. Itu terutama.
Very nice. Thank you very much. It's all about handling the pressure, and he did it really, really well. Congratulations, Simon. A win for Klang United BC. Back to you in the commentary box.
So Klang United take a 3-0 win as expected. As we look at the highlights of that, and Simon Santoso just saying how he was just trying not to think of all the pressure that was put on him. And at 29 years old, it's a really good, well, it's just a really good indicator of focus, really. when you think about it, because from the game that he played, which I can tell you now, included a sub-10 unforced errors, just 8 unforced errors for him. It's something we've seen from all of the top players, and it's a lesson for everyone to learn. And if we look at exactly how he did it, any pressure that came his way, and credit to Ashton Chen for giving him that pressure, he gave it back just as well. This is classically going to show you, he knows exactly where Ashton is, so it's the most beautiful little drop. And then, how about you go that way? Which he does, and that opens up all that space, and there's that triangle again that we've seen. That's what the top 10 players in the world will do. They will keep you in that triangle for pretty much as long as you want to stay there, or as long as your own game will allow you to stay in there. He did that throughout that match, and in 26 minutes, look at that, sub 8 unforced errors, 7 up on the smash winners, absolutely dominated the net as well, and long serves as well. That entire court belonged to Simon Santoso, and that was after some very, very good effort from Ashton Chen from Singapore. So we've already seen a brilliant first match. It's gone the way of Klang United, and it's going to be very, very difficult for anyone else to kind of match up with that. Let's see if the women's singles goes that way. Li Jiyi is up against Yap Ri Chen. Both of them no strangers to the Kopiko Purple League. So the players take their positions, and I can see that the managers are also taking theirs. So while the players get ready and meet the umpires and service judge, let's hear from Ismail Saman and Yap Kim Hock. They're with JD on court.
All right, down here with the managers before the start of this match. They're all vying for a spot in the top 8 for the Resorts World Genting Champions Challenge. First, let's chat with Ismail Sama from Bangsar House, BC. The two players today in the women's singles, they know each other really well. For you, Ziyi, does she have an advantage here? Physically, she's a bit taller. What other advantages do you have?
Okay, for Ziyi opportunity, I have more on skilled player. Then she have more thinking, and hopefully she can make it some new stroke for. I know they are always be together playing, but hopefully Ziyi to become a fighter. And then I told her also, anything happen, always be fight.
I like that. Thank you, Ismail Saman. Now over to the Yap Kim Hock, team manager from Klang United BC. Again, same question. They know each other really well. They're very good friends, but Richen's been having a great time in the Kopiko Purple League. Do you think she has what it takes to win it today?
They are teammates. The age, they are almost same. And I think this is a good match for both players. And Richen is already played a few matches in the KPL. I think this is a better advantage for her. Yeah.
Will it be a strong advantage? Will we see her win this match? We'll have to see. Right now, back to you in the commentary box.
Thanks for that, JD. Early words from the managers. Of course, they've got a lot to think about later on in the tie. But coming into the second day of match day 8, of course, for each of these teams, it's just match day 8. But for everyone watching and us, it usually takes 3 days to complete each one. 18 years old, Yap Ri Chen, ranked 559th in the world, and she was up earlier this month, just after New Year's, against Ti Jingyi's, of course, Ti Jingyi, the national player who injured her knee, and she's been out since then. We've been talking to Samuel Nason, the manager of Kapong, not just here, but on the internet. I've been talking to him on podcasts as well about how that injury is waiting for her to get back to her best against Li Jiyi, 319th in the world, also 18. So it's a good profile, it's a good platform for the whole of Malaysia to watch two up-and-coming shuttlers. Ian Harris Abdullah, the umpire. Stephen Ong in the service judge chair. Well, we started for the women's game, an electric pace, I can tell you that. That's good to know, it's good to see. This the first start this year for Li Jiyi. Didn't feature in the games they played on the 4th and 6th of January. Yapri Chen, of course, as I said, has already made a 2015 debut. Li Chen in the blue and white. Ziyi in the Bangsar Hawks, red and black. And it's, again, a backhand clear that makes the difference. Such a difficult stroke in badminton. It's against the motion of your wrist, if you think about it, so there isn't that much power you can put into it. Accuracy also comes into it as well. Lack of it. So far, so good from both players. They're definitely utilizing 2 of the 3 courts, mid and 4. You think of 3 zones in each court. 4 court up by the net, mid court by that white line in the middle, and the rear court by the 2 lines at the back. And if you can push your opponent around those 3 zones, then you're on your way to some points. 3-4. Little net tumble there. So Li Chen with a 5-3 lead. And immediately you can see the difference. I mean, we just saw a very solid performance from Simon Santoso, and you can see with both of these players, with their ranking, of course, some 200 places below the likes of Simon Santoso. Of course, the men's game is a bit different, but the positional theories behind it all still apply. You can just see that while both are trying to rest the attacking momentum in the point, trying to keep your opponent in one area of the court, or that triangle that we just saw so beautifully demonstrated on the graphics in the virtual replay. It's very difficult to do. Upping the tempo and keeping those triangles tight, well, that's for the likes of Dr. Lee Chong Wei, Chen Long, Lin Dan. Go ask them, because they literally play games of chess, except on a badminton court. So, Li Chen, the semi-finalist at the Bangladesh Open last year. Behind here to Lee Ziyi, who made the quarterfinals of that exact tournament. But now it's all tied up. As the manager said, they are very similar in nature. Both were at the Thailand International Challenge. Ziyi made it to Thursday. It's taken out by Kim Hyo-min in straight games. Ri Chen was ousted even earlier, actually, by Thailand's Kunjira Kongdi. So perhaps we can start tying up current form as we get to the business end of this first game. And so we get to game point after 6 minutes. But the game doesn't quite fall just yet. Ri Chen benefiting from a couple of unforced errors. She's actually made more so far. She just seems to be a little bit upset, Ri Chen, with a few of her mid-court shots. The actual technique that she's using. And that was a solid way to finish that game. 11-8. And it's another game that falls to Klang United. So, racing away in this tie so far. We have seen that usually if the men's singles and the women's singles lead to a 6-0 lead, it'll be hard to catch your opponents. Right now, of course, at 4-0 after that beautiful performance by Simon Santoso. 11-8 though, a lot to take from that game for Lee Ziyi. And while they do get ready for the second game, I'll just give you an update on the first two games that happened yesterday. That was Kajang versus Nusa Jaya. That ended in a 10-9, very close tie all in all, with a surprise victory for Alan Tai in the first men's singles. Yip Pui Yin, of course, delivering there. And that was followed by Kapong taking on Petaling. 13-8, good win for Kapong. Solid win for Kapong as well, who have, over the first 7 match days, had to deal with a couple of ties that went wrong. And when I say ties or matches that went wrong, the best way you can win a match for your club would be 3-0, as we saw Simon Santoso do. The worst way that you could lose would be, or the best way that you could lose would be 3-2, so that you can give 2 games back to your club, even though you may have lost the day. Kim Hock there. Happy so far, 4-0 up. Bangsar Hawks did score their first victory just recently. The only club, by the way, in the Kopiko Purple League that hasn't registered a win is Serdang, who ironically actually won the Rookies Cup, which was the tournament that started off the entire league. Perhaps you could say they're a classic cup side. Or maybe they just weren't ready for the rigors of the league. As we see Ri Chen beginning to overfire, I think we should say. Her unforced error is up to 10 already. CE still on 4. But even with those 10 unforced errors, she's managed to scramble away with the first game. That one's too much for her. That one's out as well, and now these unforced errors are beginning to tell. I wonder if some hair in the way. Well judged, and the service back with her. Now, Yap will be happy with that. And her opponent didn't streak away. 2 or 3 points could be saved. 6 or 7. I'd like to see you try. Though on that note, we have seen a lot of players come back. Tan Meng, I remember, had a 10-point comeback yesterday. Sutek Ji also came back against Noah Zunayur. He was 7-1 down. Took it all the way to 10-10. This really is a question of Yap Chen just pulling her game in a little bit. It's 12 unforced errors for her now. Clear winners. She's 6-1 up, so it's a seesaw game that she's playing. And that was a backhand clear that totally worked for a minute. And if you look at it, it was bang on the line. Unlike that. So still within a point.